Modern Warfare Zombies. It was a new, different take on the Zombies mode that was heavily inspired by Outbreak and DMZ at the time, but the idea was basically you were in this open map where you could go around it with your friends, team up with other players that you would find in the area and take on tasks whilst also mowing down the horde. And to be entirely honest with you, and I can't speak for the community here, but it didn't seem like it was taken to too badly with the first initial cinematic trailer, where it seemed to throw a lot of mystery as to what was actually happening to the characters that were in Black Ops Cold War, as they were all dead around this table. Most of the complaints typically revolved around the fact it was not a round-based zombie map, and instead it was set in a repurposed version of the Warzone map Urzikstan. But as somebody that never really played Warzone properly, this didn't bother me whatsoever, and I just took the mode as what it was: DM Zombies. Now, I'm just going to play some gameplay whilst talking over it in the background, but this is why I truly enjoyed Modern Warfare Zombies. So I'm going to start this off immediately by saying, if you don't know how to truly play Modern Warfare Zombies, it probably won't feel that right to you. But once you get into the swing of things and understand the motions you have to go through to play it, it becomes such a fun and thrilling experience. Now, on the screen right now you can see all these things that I have in my inventory, but you do have an inventory pack when you're playing Modern Warfare Zombies. It's not like the typical format where you just pick things up like perks and pack-a-punch. Although those things are in the game, there is a way to carry on stuff and bring it over. And I have pretty much everything there was to unlock at the time, and I can spawn into the game with a level 3 pack-a-punch or a wonder weapon, and having those things in this mode actually make the gameplay better than building up to it in a typical round-based fashion. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I prefer Modern Warfare Zombies over traditional zombies directly, but it's a completely different gaming experience, and if you get into the loop of it, you'll understand exactly what I mean, so let's drop in right now. So when you spawn in, you may be led to believe you should try and build up, go from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3. But this is what you should actually always do to make sure you're having the most fun. Just go straight to tier 3 and find a group of players, because whenever you spawn in, you can have a maximum of 3 people in a group, but in the actual reality, you can have 6 people in the full group. So if you just go to a group of 3 and join their group, as long as someone in that group is ready, and they typically are if they're in tier 3 in the early rounds, you'll be able to join in with their experience and get all the points from all the little missions that you do from the contracts there. And you'll be able to jump around and enjoy this experience so much quicker and get into the fold of things. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but you started with a level 3 pack-a-punch weapon and you jumped there with a wonder weapon really quickly. If you run over to T3 and join a group, the amount of points you get from doing a contract is more than the tier 1 or tier 2 areas. So as long as you let the good or the more experienced players that have already got the gear there level you up to that point really quickly by essentially being carried for a few contracts, you can pretty much play at their level really quickly, and by the time you do the next game, you should already be set up to just go immediately into the next game, pretty much solo if you wanted to. But none of this explains why I enjoyed the mode. I've been playing zombies since pretty much the beginning. Black Ops 1 was my first game, but I went back and played World at War after the fact, but I didn't really get into zombies properly until Black Ops 2. I knew things about it and I watched and experienced it from a distance, but it wasn't like my niche. And to be honest, now it is. It is one of those game modes that has stuck with me over the years, and I truly love it. And this mode was something refreshing to me. I initially went into it thinking, oh my god, I have to go through tier 1 to get to tier 2 to tier 3. And that was sort of a draining element to thinking about this game mode. But then once I figured out what the real swing of it was, which was just going straight to tier 3, the game mode became far more enjoyable in every single way. It would also give you a 45-minute timer, and that 45-minute timer might have been something controversial at the time where people are like, oh, I just want to be able to play zombies for as long as I like. But let's be entirely honest here, if you've played round-based zombies for more than an hour, you would realize that you would typically get bored of it unless you were going specifically for a high round. Leaving at about round 30 to 36 was always the drill at maximum, unless you were doing Easter eggs or having other reasons to explore and enjoy the map, in which case, fair enough. So that's a big reason why I never had a problem with a 45-minute to an hour time limit. You don't need much more than that to have a good gaming session and have some fun with your friends. And on the note of that, even if you don't have friends, as you've seen in this video, I've not played Modern Warfare Zombies in a very, very long time. This is the first time I've booted it up in the background, and immediately when going to T3, I've already found 5 other players that will invite me into their group, and we are doing contracts together. We are all running around to the same locations, fighting mini-bosses together, defending areas, killing zombies. You are just getting the entire core gameplay loop of zombies pretty much immediately as you jump into it, not having to build up to around 25, 30, just to get that really fun experience that is really exciting and actually difficult, which is where I get most of my satisfaction playing zombies. And if none of this sounds even slightly compelling to you, that's absolutely fine. But there's something so much more fun about the idea of running around with 5 other people that will protect your back and revive you at any given moment, jumping off bridges, driving in cars to get to you as soon as possible, just to revive you. Or the Dark Ether portals, which typically towards the end of the 45-minute cycle, your group would typically go over to one of these sigil areas and put your sigil into it, which you could get as a drop from one of the zombies. And you could then start a 15-minute secret Dark Ether area mode where you could get these secret classified rewards such as golden plates or ether blades. And the thing is, you didn't even have to rely on just getting these as drops. If you went into the Dark Ether areas, you could get schematics. And once you have the schematics, you can build these and they'll have a cooldown on them. Now, the biggest ones typically have like a 12-hour to a day's cooldown. And these are like level 3 pack punch or level 5 golden weapon. But for all intents and purposes, you don't actually need them. You're probably fine with a level 1 or a level 2 and just building up from there in most situations, especially if you just go straight to tier 3. Some of the items that you get though, for example like golden armor plates or the ether blade, they provide such a beneficial buff that improve the entire gameplay experience. In fact, these items returned in Black Ops 6, in the Reckoning, and in the Tomb, and part of me believes the reason that they did is because they were so enjoyed as part of this game mode that they did need to carry over somewhere. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys this is the best game mode of all time and you are all stupid for not believing that. You are entitled to your own opinions on that, and I don't think it's the greatest either. I'm just saying it was a very, very fun experience once you figured it out truly. But the flaws in it were things like the story missions, which were these very boring and unenthusiastic cutscenes about characters you didn't really care about in the future that was sort of combined with the campaign. You didn't really give a shit about it. So why would you go out of your way to try and enjoy this mode if you're not going to get pulled into the story, which is what a lot of people got brought into zombies because of? I get that. However, if you actually did go through all the story quests and stuff like that, you did get the benefit of having the big endings with stuff like the giant ether worm for the first time, the Orcus, which was genuinely a really, really great experience the first time you came across it, because you're like, oh my god, is this game mode actually goated? No, it wasn't. It was just a really good moment when this initially first happened. And to be honest, I've got to give a lot of credit to the Modern Warfare Zombies team. They did manage to make really epic scale cutscenes when they weren't just doing characters talking about some bullshit. Like, I am still genuinely slightly compelled as to what Ava Jansen's story will be later on, but we've not really had a resolve for that, but I am truly interested in what the entity and what things are going on, and we'll probably find that out in Black Ops 7. Okay, back into the gameplay. You've probably noticed a lot in the background, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier about the wonder weapon, the Scorcher. This is the Modern Warfare Zombies wonder weapon. There are other ones such as the Ray Gun, the Wonder Warf, or the Scavenger, but the Scorcher was made for this map in particular, and once it was pack-a-punch, you could use this ability to blast yourself into the sky and parachute all over, making contracts really, really easy to get to. Yes, it might look a bit meh when you're watching my gameplay of it, but when you're actually in the moment and doing it and flying across the map, straight at people all the time, straight into these zones where you're killing zombies immediately and finding these giant monsters to kill, it's really, really fun and enjoyable, but that could just be me. But it also has one of the most unique firing abilities that I've ever seen in zombies, where when you charge it up, it would blast a beam straight forward and anything that goes through it while it was still in the atmosphere would be disintegrated. Other than obviously boss zombies, but in general, zombies themselves would just get obliterated into nothing. And I really loved how it sort of just stayed in the air with this red beam. It was something very unique. I really liked the wonder weapon for this map and there was nothing wrong with it. If it ever returned in another zombie map, I would love it. To be entirely honest, I'm actually quite surprised it didn't show up in either the Reckoning or Ashes of the Damned. Kind of feels like it would have fitted in one of those maps really well. Anyway, I've not actually spoken about my favourite thing that you can do in Modern Warfare Zombies, which is probably the Red Worm encounter. Now, there's a small/big Easter egg, depending on how you look at it, where you have to go across the entire map and collect these little receivers, and once you do it, you have to put them in a specific place, and you will be able to trigger the Red Worm event that every player in the map is able to come to. Now, you can only have a maximum of 24 players in the map, but there have been times where 24 players have all teamed up to one singular area simply to take down the Red Worm. And these moments, oh my god, they are golden. When you've got the entire map all going against a singular threat, and don't get me wrong, it is pretty much just a health sponge, but it just felt so amazing seeing like 10 turrets set up and everyone firing wonder weapons at this singular worm. But I've never really had such a unified experience fighting zombies ever until I played this mode. Now, I feel like I've explained why I really enjoyed this mode. But there are some things I've not really spoken about, such as the T1 and the T2 experience and doing the actual missions. So, at its core, there are some things that sort of ruin this as a zombies experience, and that's that there are people and AI throughout the map that have guns, and there are quests to do that have to go with infiltrating fortresses and things. And now, don't get me wrong, they were quite fun to do with a group of friends, but this is zombies, so I can understand why some people were not happy with this integration into it. But Like I said, I did this with a few friends and it was actually really enjoyable getting all the way to the end of it. And because I didn't really play the Warzone variation of this map, it felt like a fresh experience exploring it for the first time and finding all these little places that you can get into. I know it's not perfect being an adaptation of a Warzone map in the first place, but it could feel like its own singular experience if that's the only one you've ever played. And I know this was heavily where Warzone mechanics really got forced onto the zombies community. Yes, it was in Cold War, but it didn't feel the same as jumping into a Warzone map and actually playing zombies like a Warzone map. This whole video wasn't to say that Modern Warfare Zombies is something you should have given a chance and that it is one of the best things that you could ever play. This was just to say that in my opinion, the map and the game mode was actually a genuinely fun experience if you did give it that chance. And if you were willing to turn a blind eye to the fact that this is not the same zombies that you were used to. Yes, all the mechanics were there, and yes, there were so many things that made it zombies. But yes, you had to also experience this as its own thing, and that's what I tried to do. So there you have it, there's my opinions on Modern Warfare Zombies, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to the channel. This is actually the first time I've tried to do a long form video that wasn't part of the Everything Great About Zombies series, and I hope you enjoyed it. I have no idea why I thought the first video I should do would be about Modern Warfare Zombies, but there we go.